There are people who walk this earth and don't quite belong to either realm. Not fully light, not fully dark. People who've never fit into the conventional spiritual narrative of love and light, nor embraced the path of destruction and chaos. They live in the in-between. They're not confused or lost, they're chosen. Rate, born with the soul contract to walk between worlds, to bring coherence to what others see as contradiction. If you've always felt like you're carrying something ancient, something heavy yet sacred, this message is for you. Because the dark chosen ones don't look like what the world expects. They're not villains. They're not saints. They are bridges between shadow and radiance, between fear and freedom, between human and divine. And if you're still watching, it's because you felt it. That quiet pull in your bones, that strange knowing that you're here for something otherworldly. The first sign that you are the rare dark chosen one is that you've walked through hell and didn't come out begging for the light. You came out with understanding. You didn't try to escape your pain. You studied it. You sat in the fire long enough to learn its language. You may have gone through deep depression, spiritual trauma, betrayal, ego death, even near psychotic breaks. But instead of letting those experiences destroy you, you let them initiate you. Where others ran to gurus or affirmations, you went inward. You chose to face what was inside you, even when it terrified you. That wasn't weakness, that was sacred courage. Because only a dark chosen one knows that transformation doesn't happen through denial. It happens through descent, into the shadow, into the wound, into the abyss. And when you emerged, something had changed. You weren't broken. You were forged. The second sign is harder to explain, but every chosen one understands it. You carry a presence that others can feel, even if they don't understand it. People either open up to you instantly or feel deeply unsettled around you. Strangers may confess their secrets or avoid you entirely. Why? Because your energy is disruptive. Not in a negative way, but in a way that exposes what others are hiding from themselves. You don't even have to speak. Your presence alone reveals hidden truths, unconscious patterns, and buried emotions. That's because your aura doesn't just glow, it mirrors. It reflects back to others what they've buried. And that kind of energy is rare. It's not comfortable. It's transformational. You don't fit in because you weren't designed to. You were born to shift frequencies, not blend into them. And most people aren't ready for that kind of raw, unfiltered vibration. But deep down they respect it, even when they fear it. The third sign is the most isolating. You've never fully belonged to any group, religion, or belief system. Not because you're rebellious, but because your truth is too big to be contained. You've probably tried to fit in. You may have followed spiritual teachers, joined communities, believed in systems for a while. But eventually, something in you cracked. You saw the limitations, the dogma, the ego dressed up as enlightenment, and you couldn't stay. That's not failure, it's initiation. Every dark chosen one is guided to walk their own path, not because they're arrogant, but because their soul demands direct experience. You don't want truth handed to you. You want to touch it, taste it, bleed for it. You don't want answers, you want essence. That's what makes you dangerous to systems and sacred to the earth. The fourth sign is that you've had encounters with the unseen. Not just visions or dreams, but real, visceral experiences that defy logic. Maybe you've felt spirits in the room. Maybe you've seen shadows that no one else could see. Maybe you've received messages that turned out to be prophetic. These weren't hallucinations. They were activations, because the dark chosen one is psychic by design, but not in the Instagram clairvoyant way. Your power isn't for entertainment. It's for truth tracking. You feel what others suppress. You hear what others silence. And as you've matured, you've learned that your sensitivity isn't a defect, it's your superpower. But it took time. You had to learn to discern what was real and what was projection. You had to create boundaries. You had to learn when to listen and when to close the channel. Because being a bridge means knowing when to open and when to guard the gate. The fifth sign is that you felt called to both destroy and create. You felt the urge to dismantle illusions, systems, even relationships that no longer serve truth. And you've also felt the call to build new paradigms, new ways of being, new structures that honor both the shadow and the light. You're not here to play small. You're here to reconstruct reality. And that's not easy, because it means constantly dying and being reborn. It means letting go of identities, of comfort, of certainty. It means being misunderstood often. But you didn't come here for comfort. You came here to remember who you are and to activate others through your being, not through force, but through frequency. The sixth sign is silence. Not external silence, but an inner stillness that you've cultivated through chaos. You don't panic easily. You're not seduced by trends. You've seen enough of life's extremes to know that everything passes. And in that knowing, you carry a calm that others feel. It's the calm of someone who has met the void and made peace with it. That kind of serenity isn't taught. It's earned. And it makes you a lighthouse for others even when you don't want to be one. And the seventh sign may be the most shocking. You've realized that your darkness is not evil. It's sacred. It's the part of you that protects, that sees clearly, that says no when needed. It's not about harming others. It's about being so rooted in your truth that you refuse to be manipulated. That kind of darkness is rare. It's holy. And it's needed in a world obsessed with false light. You are not here to be palatable. You're here to be real. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into what happens when you actually begin living as the dark chosen one, how your energy transforms your relationships, how to protect your field without closing your heart, and why the world is secretly waiting for people like you to step forward and lead.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
When you realize you're a dark chosen one, something deep shifts, not because you claim a title, but because you finally stop apologizing for your presence. You stop hiding your depth. You stop diluting your truth to make it more digestible for others. And that's when the world begins to respond in unexpected ways. You start to notice that people are watching you, not always with words, not always with praise, but with a silent curiosity. They feel something in you, a frequency they can't place, a depth they haven't touched, and whether they understand it or not, they are being activated. That's the paradox of the dark chosen one. You don't walk into the world looking for followers. You don't preach, you don't beg for attention, and you don't need a stage, but you become a living transmission. Your very being becomes the message. You walk into a room and the energy shifts. Not because you try to dominate, but because your field is undeniable. That is the essence of the unseen leader. You lead not by control, but by coherence. You don't tell people what to think, you show what it looks like to be whole in a fragmented world. But that kind of leadership is rarely celebrated, because it doesn't play by the rules. It doesn't flatter egos. It doesn't play into hierarchy. It disrupts. And disruption is uncomfortable. That's why many dark chosen ones experience rejection, betrayal, or even exile before they are recognized. You may have been scapegoated by family, misunderstood by spiritual communities, or cast aside by those who once called you friend. Not because you were wrong, but because your presence revealed what others were not ready to see. That's the burden and the gift of being the rare bridge between light and dark. You reflect the unseen truth. And truth is rarely welcomed by those still addicted to illusion. Let me ask you something that might sting, but is necessary. How many times have you dimmed your voice, softened your truth, or played small just to protect others from your fullness? And at what cost? Because here's the truth. Every time you shrink, you don't just betray yourself, you rob the world of your medicine. The world isn't dying from too much darkness. It's dying from repression. From people pretending to be light while secretly drowning in their own shadows. From leaders who perform virtue while avoiding their own internal reckoning. You are not here to be part of that performance. You are here to break the spell. But to do that, you must first lead yourself. You must become sovereign in your energy. You must learn how to hold your power without leaking it. That means boundaries, not walls, but sacred containers. Not everyone deserves access to your field. Not everyone is ready to be near someone who burns with both fire and stillness. You must know when to open and when to close, when to speak and when to be silent. Leadership doesn't mean overexposure. It means alignment. You walk in integrity even when no one is watching, especially then. And as you grow into this unseen leader, you start to notice something magical. The right people start finding you. Not the masses, not the crowd, but the ones who feel you. The ones who carry the same ancient coding. You recognize each other without words. You don't need to explain your journey. You just nod, and something inside both of you settles. These are your soul allies, your tribe of depth. And together you begin to weave something the world has forgotten, a path of embodied truth. But don't be mistaken, this path is not about being a savior. It's not about fixing the world. It's about being so real, so whole, so energetically precise that others have no choice but to wake up when they're near you. You don't change them, you remind them. Your field becomes a mirror, a trigger, and a bomb. And that's why your presence must be clean. Not perfect, but honest. You must do your own shadow work relentlessly. You must confront your ego, your blind spots, your wounds. Because if you carry distortion, your leadership will collapse under pressure. But if you lead from integration, from the marriage of your light and dark, then you become unshakable. This is the medicine the world is starving for. Not more gurus, not more influencers, but real honest. People who know how to hold rage without projecting it, who can sit with grief without drowning in it, who can speak truth without needing to be liked. That's you. That's what you're becoming. In the next part, we'll explore the unseen forces that challenge every dark chosen one: energetic attacks, psychic interference, and ancestral karmic patterns. You'll learn how to protect your field, not through fear, but through embodiment. And we'll dive into why many dark chosen ones are targeted by unseen energies and how to turn those attacks into spiritual armor. There comes a moment on the path of every dark chosen one when the air around you thickens. Not from fear or paranoia, but because you start to feel it. The resistance, the interference, the invisible weight pressing against your energy field. And if you're not prepared, you might think it's just personal, like something's wrong with you. But it's not personal, it's positional. You're stepping into a role that threatens the very structures that feed off unconsciousness. You're waking up in a world that profits from people staying asleep. You're remembering your power in a system that thrives on your amnesia. And so, the moment you begin to embody your truth, the war begins not with swords, not with armies, but with frequency. Dark chosen ones are often targeted by unseen forces, not because they're weak, but because they're dangerous. Your energy disrupts distortion. Your vibration collapses illusion. And anything that feeds on fear, chaos, or fragmentation senses that. You may notice this in strange ways: insomnia, sudden fatigue, emotional outbursts that feel foreign, tech glitches, even dreams that leave you drained. These are not random. These are signs that you are moving energy, and that energy is pushing back. But here's the truth. You're not being attacked because you're failing, you're being challenged because you're rising. And this is where many chosen ones falter. They retreat. They doubt. They wonder if they're crazy. And that's exactly how distortion wins, not through brute force, but through subtle self-destruction. The real war is not outside of you. It's in your response. Will you collapse under the pressure, or will you alchemize it? Because every energetic attack is actually an opportunity, an initiation, a test. It's asking you, are you ready to hold more power? Are you anchored in your truth, or are you still seeking external validation? This is why shadow integration is not optional, it's survival. If you haven't faced your own unconsciousness, you become an easy target for external manipulation. If there are parts of you you're still ashamed of, energies can use them against you. But when you've integrated your shadow, when you've sat with your rage, your grief, your jealousy, your fear, and made peace with them, there's nothing left to hijack. You become unhackable. Your frequency becomes so coherent, so whole, that distortion bounces off of you like static hitting a grounded wire. That's what real spiritual protection looks like. Not crystals, not spells, embodiment. Let me ask you a question that goes deeper than protection. What if every attack was actually a sacred mirror showing you where your field needs refinement? What if you stopped seeing interference as punishment and started seeing it as feedback? That changes everything. Suddenly, you're not a victim. You're a master in training. You respond with presence, not panic. You cleanse your energy field not out of fear, but out of love for your own clarity. You don't run, you expand. You meet chaos with stillness. You meet noise with signal. And in doing so, you transmute the very force that tried to collapse you. Practicality matters here. You need tools, yes, but tools that come from presence. Daily energetic hygiene is essential. Grounding into the earth, breathing into your body, speaking your truth aloud, moving stagnant emotions through sound, movement, or ritual, protecting your sleep, calling your energy back. But none of this should be performative. It must be felt, real, alive. Because if the ritual is empty, the distortion will find its way in. You don't need more performance. You need embodiment so deep that your field becomes a weapon of light and shadow combined. And here's the deeper mystery. The more you transmute, the more you become a portal not just for your own evolution, but for collective healing. You start to notice that when you clear something in yourself, others around you shift. When you speak your truth, others find their voice. When you draw a boundary, others remember their worth. That's the ripple effect of the dark chosen one. You don't just protect your field, you raise the frequency of the space you walk through. Not by force, not by ego, but by being so real that illusion can't survive in your presence. But be warned, the closer you get to full integration, the more refined the interference becomes. It doesn't always come through chaos. Sometimes it comes through seduction, through flattery, through distractions disguised as opportunities. Watch your energy. Watch your reactions. Are you being pulled or are you choosing? Are you expanding or being drained? Are you saying yes from alignment or from fear of missing out? These are the questions that keep your field clean. This is the real spiritual war. It's not about demons. It's about discernment. In the next and final part, we'll explore what happens when you step fully into your role, not just as a bridge between light and dark, but as a living force of transmutation. You'll learn how to walk with power in every space you enter, how to embody quiet authority without dominance, and why being the dark chosen one is not a burden but a sacred responsibility the world has been waiting for. There comes a moment when you no longer question your path, not because it got easier, but because you finally remembered who you are. You stop looking for signs and start being the sign. You stop seeking permission and start embodying truth. This is the moment when the dark chosen one becomes something more than a bridge between light and shadow. You become a living flame, not to burn others but to light the way through a world lost in illusion and fear. You don't walk this path with pride. You walk it with precision. Not because you want power, but because you are power refined, conscious, rooted. And power like that carries responsibility. Not to fix everything, not to save everyone, but to remain coherent when the world fractures. To stay deeply human while holding something otherworldly. To walk as fire, purifying, awakening, illuminating without ever needing to explain yourself. That's what true leadership looks like. Quiet, present, unshakable. The dark chosen one doesn't shout. You don't need to. Your actions speak in the language of frequency. Your boundaries teach more than your words. Your stillness disrupts more than arguments ever could. You don't have to convince people of anything. Your life becomes the proof. Your alignment becomes the message. Your integrity becomes the sermon. And in a world addicted to noise, that silence is revolutionary. But this isn't a path of isolation. It's a path of selective communion. You begin to attract others carrying similar codes, beings who also walk between realms, who've tasted the dark not as punishment, but as prophecy. With them, you don't need to perform. You don't need to translate. You just are. And together you become something sacred, a network of resonance, a temple of frequency, not built with bricks but with presence, not led by hierarchy but by embodied vibration. And yet, even as your field strengthens, the world will still try to pull you back into old roles. It will try to seduce you with false light, flatter you into compliance, or guilt you into silence. That's where your responsibility deepens. Because when you carry shadow and light in equal measure, every choice you make ripples. Every word you speak carries weight. Every boundary you set becomes an example. You're not just walking for yourself anymore. You're walking as a blueprint for those who haven't yet remembered their own fire. That is not a burden. It's a gift. The world doesn't need more saviors. It needs more sovereign souls who walk in unapologetic alignment. Let me ask you something only a few will understand. Are you willing to live in such deep integrity that even your silence is sacred? Are you willing to be misunderstood, even rejected, because your truth threatens the comfort of the collective illusion? Because if you are, then you're ready. You're not just awakening, you're anchoring. You're not just healing, you're holding. And the earth feels you. Every time you choose presence over performance, every time you choose truth over approval, every time you choose embodiment over escape, you strengthen the grid. You become a living axis between dimensions, a stabilizer for a world on the brink of remembering itself. This is what it means to be the dark chosen one. Not special, not superior, but selected by your own soul long before this lifetime began. You didn't come here to escape the world. You came here to walk fully inside it while remaining untouchable. You came to show others what it looks like to hold pain without becoming it, to carry power without abusing it, to walk through fire without flinching because you are the fire. So now the question is no longer, am I chosen? The question is, now that I know, what will I do with it? Because the world doesn't need more light or more dark. It needs you whole, awake, integrated. It needs your frequency, your clarity, your rage alchemized into purpose, your silence turned into medicine, your presence turned into portal. Walk wisely, walk boldly, walk as fire. The world is watching not with its eyes but with its soul.